Okay, this is Brad Wharton for MMABay Radio, and I'm joined on the line at this time by Liam Fisher, who's the VP of Business Development at BAMMA. Liam, thanks for joining us.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So, anyone who's seen the promo video will know BAMMA's going to be going home to Birmingham for BAMMA 7. Was it always part of the plan to go back there on this arena tour that you're in the middle of? And what is it about Birmingham that keeps pulling you back in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've done 2 shows there before, one of which was probably our most successful, being BAMMA 4. And, we've got a presence in Birmingham. The fan base there knows who we are and what we're trying to do, and they've been to shows before and been happy with the shows. So it makes a lot of sense to go back to Birmingham, and it's definitely going to be, a venue that we visit every year.
Cool. When we last spoke at BAMMA 6, one thing that you mentioned to me was that, as a relatively young company, one of the key things for you guys was learning something from every show in order to make the next one better. What did you guys learn from BAMMA 6 that's going to make BAMMA 7 a bigger and better event?
Well, I think what we had at BAMMA 6 was, the fight card from start to finish was a quality fight card. So I think what we're learning is every time we do an event, we have to stack that card, not only to develop the British talent on the roster, but also bring in over internationals. That's what the fan base want. They want to see people from all over the world fighting, but they also want to see the British talent developed. And I think we did that. I think Tom kind of proved himself in that fight as a world-class athlete, and that was a big part of the plan. So I think the other things that we've learned from BAMMA 6 really is about with Wembley we did a really good run where we had plenty of time to promote the show. We were promoting online. We had a good PR campaign. We were doing a lot of different interviews across all of the media, and that's very important. And it was a lot more than what we did for BAMMA 5, and I think that showed with the success of ticket sales and also viewing figures as well.
Cool. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the fight card then. Obviously, you've got Tom Watson versus Frank Trigg in the main event. Tom's, knocking on the door of the middleweight world top 10 rankings. Frank's a long-time veteran who's proved that he's still got what it takes last time out at BAMMA 6. Is this one of the biggest fights that BAMMA have put on in terms of its relevance for the division?
Yeah, I think so. I think it proves that our middleweight division's a very stacked and impressive division. Frank Trigg, he's nowhere near past it, in my opinion. I think he came into BAMMA 6 and he proved to the world that he's still a credible contender. And then Tom came in and did the business against Ninja. So I think that fight makes a lot of sense. The fans wanted it. They voted for it on the polls that were on the website and the Facebook page. So we try and deliver whatever our fans want, and that was the fight that they wanted to see.
Well, Tom's kind of coming to be known as much for his dry humour as his fighting skills in the ring, and he's taken to Twitter and said that the only reason Frank's taking this fight is because he's heard that Tom was injured. Do you think he's trying to play a bit of mind games here, and how dangerous is it for him to take a fight against a guy like Trigg when he's not 100%?
Yeah, I think, I know Tom's got a problem with his back, and ultimately, Tom's a smart guy, and he wouldn't have taken that fight if he thought that was going to be a major issue. I think whatever he's saying to Frank with regards to his motivation and reasons behind taking the fight, again, Tom's been known to get inside the heads of his opponents, and I don't think Frank Trigg's an exception of that. So, we'll see what happens. I think, Frank, on the other hand, he's pretty good at smack talk. Out of the top 10 kind of smack talking moments of all time, I think Frank's probably in the top 5 of them. So, it'd be interesting to see what Frank's reaction to that is, and whether he does get to him, whether it does annoy him, or whether he takes offence. I know that there was certainly a reaction from Frank's camp after Tom's MSN blog, where he pretty much announced that the fight wasn't going to happen, and then all of a sudden, within the space of a week and a half, the fight was back on the cards again. So, it's been a long, drawn-out process for us to put that fight together. So, people need to draw their own conclusions.
I think it's definitely going to get interesting as the fight nears or gets nearer with all the Twitter back and forth. And speaking of Twitter, Tom recently silenced a lot of talk on his Twitter and Facebook by asking the fans to stop asking him about going to the UFC. Does it make BAMMA as a company proud to have a champion like that who's committed to the cause when it seems like every other fighter outside the UFC is talking about getting there?
Yeah, absolutely. It means a lot to us. That Twitter post was great, and Tom got some really good praise for that, and he also got a lot of slack from people from UK fans, which kind of puts that kind of sums up the position that we're in as an organisation as it stands at the moment. If you look at the MMA community as a whole, there are more people that would prefer to see a UK fighter in an American organisation than see a British organisation become the size of an American organisation. And that's just, that's the world we live in. Whether that changes or not with UFC not coming to the UK, we'll have to wait and see. But it's kind of what we face every day, and that's what we're up against. That's the marketing machine of UFC. They've been a very successful company because of their great marketing, and that's the way they've marketed themselves as the one and only. But I think when Tom goes out there, it gives us a huge amount of credibility by saying, I'm with BAMMA, I'm a BAMMA fighter, I'm under contract, and even past the Triggs fight, he's still under contract to us. So, don't talk about it. I'm happy where I am.
Well, BAMMA 7 also, moving down the card, we're going to see the debut of Ultimate Fighter winner Efrain Escudero. That's another big international name that you've got on the roster. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about? And are you finding, having named guys like Ninja and Frank Trigg on your cards is making it easier for BAMMA to attract these big international stars?
Yeah, I think so. I think Efrain was someone that we had on the radar for quite a while. We were potentially looking at putting an offer in before BAMMA 6, and it just didn't happen. We were very much on the case of putting an offer in straight away for him, and he's definitely a contender that we wanted on a multi-fight contract. We consider him to be one of the top lightweights outside of Zuffa, and we definitely want to know on the roster. So we've set up a multi-fight contract with Effie, and he's fighting, let's say, BAMMA 7. If he wins that fight, then potentially be looking at a title shot straight away.
Cool. I mean, he's taken on Tim Radcliffe. Now, that's a name that fans from outside the UK might not be very familiar with. Obviously, being from the UK, he's not afraid of a bit of fisticuffs, but he's known more for his BJJ than anything else, which is exactly the kind of fighter that Efrain's had trouble with in the past. I mean, this isn't a case of, bringing in a big name and giving him an easy fight. Could we potentially have a big upset on our hands here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the only reason people would think that this would be an upset is if they don't know who Radcliffe is and they care more about name value than actual skill set. Tim's, he's a great opponent, and he's, in my opinion, one of the top UK lightweights. He's got fantastic BJJ skills. He can stand and bang as well. So it's a very interesting fight on multiple levels, and I think Efrain knows that as well. One of the big things that what's attracting these international fights at the moment is that we can actually provide a challenge for them. We're not like some of the other smaller organisations that go out there and bring in international talent and give them a walkover. We just don't do that. It just so happens that Tom did that with Ninja, but that was just because Tom is that talented. It wasn't a walkover fight for either of them, and the same with Frank as well. So I think what we're trying to do is when we matchmake at the moment, or when Jude matchmakes, our guy, he's putting together very credible fights that could go either way, and I think that the Tim and Efrain Escudero fight is no different.
Speaking of big names and free agents, there's been a lot of talk on Twitter recently about Nate Marquardt. Obviously, he's a big free agent in MMA at the moment. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances of us seeing a guy like Nate in BAMMA in the future?
I couldn't really put a number to it, but we've definitely been in contact. I think, every promotion outside of Zuffa's been in contact, to be fair, so I don't think that's news breaking. But, obviously Nate's another world-class athlete. He's someone that you've got to look at. If he's a free agent, he's available as an organisation that wants to be taken seriously and be a good contender in the MMA world on a global scale. You've got to look at these athletes, and Nate's one of them. A lot of people keep asking, they post on Twitter and it's really helpful, when fans come up and say, you should check this guy, you should check that guy. But believe me, we do speak to a hell of a lot of people, and we just can't announce anything. We can't, go out there and even imply that we're going to sign somebody until they actually sign, because what we don't want to do is, give people, an idea of something's happening and then not deliver, because then, we look like the idiots.
Yeah. The other big fight that's going to go down at BAMMA 7 is obviously lightweight champ Rob Sinclair taking on Brazil's Leonardo Santos. What are your thoughts on this fight? And with this fight, obviously you've got Valentino and Matt Ewan on the card. How difficult was it to choose which fights are going to get the main card spotlight and which fights are going to be on the prelims?
I mean, it's always pretty difficult, to be honest, and we have to think about this from a logistical level. Because we only have a 2-hour time slot, including ad breaks on the TV, we only get one title fight and 2 non-title fights. If we put 2 title fights into the main event or the main card, we'd have to limit. That's all we could get. Potentially, we could show some earlier highlights from the evening. So we've already been told by fans that they want to see more fights within the 2-hour period. So the maximum we can give them is 3. So unfortunately, we just have to, think about what's going to work, and it might not be the most traditional of running orders, what people are used to. But Rob and Leonardo will headline the prelims, which will go out live online. It'll go out live on Facebook. So it's not like people won't be able to see it. It's just the way we have to think as an organisation. We have to go with the schedule, and have to look at this from a logistical level. We just can't squeeze that many into 2 hours.
Speaking of broadcast and distribution and everything, it was recently announced that you guys had signed a deal with Content Media for some sort of worldwide distribution. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what it means for BAMMA going forward?
Yeah, basically Content Media Corporation are a international TV sales and distribution company. So now they have the rights to our catalogue, so our back catalogue and our future broadcasts. And they are in control of selling that worldwide to TV networks. Now, that's kind of, it might not necessarily mean a huge amount by saying that, but what they have done is they've come forward and they've actually paid us up front for some deals that we can't actually announce yet. So that means that we'll definitely be international television coming forward. But it's a very big deal for us, and they've given us the reach and they've given us the potential of where we'll be over the next 12 months. And 500 million homes is what we're looking at to put the BAMMA products into. So it's massive for us. It's an absolutely huge deal to be broadcasted into that many homes. It takes us to a whole new level.
Cool. Well, one last question before we go then, Liam. Everything seems to be blowing up for BAMMA right now. What's your message to MMA fans who've yet to get involved in the BAMMA experience? Why should they buy a ticket or tune in on September the 10th?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to the fact that if you like the sport, then check it out. All you're going to see is good MMA fights. It's not to do with who spends the most money on advertising. It's not the most. It's not about the brand that tries to position itself as a sport and not a brand. It's not about that. It's just about MMA. And if you like MMA, if you like combat sports, then check it out. You've got nothing to lose by checking it out, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Cool. Well, thanks very much for your time, Liam, and best of luck with BAMMA 7.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Cheers.